Hello, I'm Ron Engelhardt, and I am here because I'd like to express a tremendous debt of gratitude that I owe to the Center for Political Studies and its founder, Warren Miller. Way back in 1971, I came up with an article in the American Political Science Review called The Silent Revolution in Europe, which proposed a theory of intergenerational value change. I was proud of it and so on. And Warren told me, Ron, we won't know if your theory is worth a nickel for 15 years. And he was right. It'd take a good 15 years testing the data over time with time series analyses before we'd know whether what I claimed was an intergenerational value shift or just life cycle effects. I found age-related differences, but with a cross-sectional survey, you couldn't do it. You had to move through years to study it. Though Warren gave me this cautionary tale, he was interested enough in the theory that he included my 4-item materialist, post-materialist values battery in the 1972 US National Election Survey, giving us American data as well as European data. This was very useful. And the next thing Warren suggested, and that we were very interested in, was to test whether the intergenerational, what I claim were intergenerational value differences, were driving the wave of student protest and other unconventional political action that had burst out into the scene in the US and many other countries. So to do so, we decided to launch a cross-national study, following this up with developing a battery of measures of unconventional and conventional political action and measures of what was driving what. This was led to one of the first of the Center for Political Studies cross-national survey projects ever. This was the political action study. In order to get the funding for this, the US segment of this study, Warren worked developing a grant proposal with me. And what we'd do is we would discuss the goals of the project, and I'd go off and write a draft of a proposal. I'd bring it to Warren, and he'd go over it with an expert eye, tear it apart, and show me this needs to be changed, this is better, we ought to do this. I'd go back and write another draft of the proposal and bring it to Warren. He'd tear it apart again and send me back, okay, this is getting better, but you need to do that and that. What he was doing was he was giving me a master class in how to write a grant proposal. And it was being taught by a master in research design. Warren was so good that the proposal got funded eventually. Another thing Warren urged me to do was to develop a broader measure of materialist, post-materialist values, going beyond the primitive 4-item battery I had originally used. Again, we'd discuss it. I would come in with a proposal. He'd say, this needs to be improved and that, and I'd go and bring him a new design. And eventually we came up with the 12-item battery that's being used today. Warren was also giving me a master class in questionnaire design. Warren had yet another valuable skill. He had a network of top survey researchers around the world. And in order to put together the multinational project, he recruited top young survey researchers from England, Germany, the Netherlands, Austria, to join with the US team to carry out this project. And he also brought in Sam Barnes to head the US project, since I was a novice with no experience in running an organization. And Kent Jennings and Barbara Farah joined the American team. And Warren had brought together a constellation of bright, young, interesting people that was tremendously stimulating and effective. We would meet again and again in various foreign places and argue about the design of the project and developing items and so on, debate heatedly, and we put together a pretty good project that went into the field in 1974. When we got the data, we had another series of meetings, developing the book, doing analyses, arguing heatedly, and so on. And eventually, the book was published in 1979, and it was not bad. The Political Action book has been cited thousands of times. Some of the items that we developed have become standard measures of political action. And clearly, this is something that we could not have been developed without Warren, Miller, and the Center for Political Studies. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to the Center for Political Studies, and I'd like to thank you for it. And this also prepared me, trained me to eventually found the World Values Survey, which has carried out 7 waves of surveys in 100 plus countries, and has developed thousands of publications using this database. And the World Values Survey wouldn't have happened without its being born in the Center for Political Studies. I am grateful forever to the CPS. Thanks a lot. So long.